Israeli military has confirmed the implementation of a ceasefire in Gaza, agreed upon in Egypt earlier this week. Israeli defense forces say they have positioned themselves along the lines agreed under the Trump plan. The IDF added they will continue to remove any immediate threats emerging out of the enclave. The development came hours after the Israeli government approved a deal with Hamas, which will also see the release of hostages. Earlier, Israel confirmed that US President Donald Trump will head to Jerusalem this Sunday. This will be Trump's first trip to the region since announcing his 20-point peace plan that led to the Gaza peace deal. The visit is expected to coincide with the release of Israeli hostages by Hamas, a moment Trump has called the end of the war in Gaza. Trump confirmed he will also address the Israeli parliament during his visit this weekend.
Well, they've asked me to speak at the Knesset, and I've agreed to. If they would like me to, I will do it. It's the first time a president has ever done that, so that makes it very interesting, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I will do it if they want me to. They have asked me to do it. Thank you.
This Gaza peace deal, hammered out in Egypt after days of closed-door talks, was celebrated in Israeli streets and across Gaza, where families have lived under bombardment for more than 2 years. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his government had approved the framework for the release of all hostages, both living and dead. But the agreement came at a cost. Far-right Israeli ministers slammed it as an unbearable price, pointing to the thousands of Palestinian prisoners set to be freed in return. But Netanyahu has defended the deal, saying Israel is about to achieve its central war goal, the release of Israeli hostages.
Momentous development in the last 2 years. We fought during these 2 years to achieve our war aims. And the central one of these war aims is to return the hostages, all of the hostages, the living and the dead. And we're about to achieve that goal. We couldn't have achieved it without the extraordinary help of President Trump and his team, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner.
Amid the politics and celebrations, India weighed in too. Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke with both Trump and Netanyahu, congratulating them on what he called a historic step towards peace. PM Modi praised the deal for opening doors to humanitarian aid and hostage releases, adding that terrorism in any form is unacceptable anywhere in the world. The agreement also sets the stage for a major humanitarian operation. The United Nations has unveiled a 60-day plan to rush food, water and medicine into Gaza, promising aid for 2 million people and temporary schools for 700,000 children. American officials say that a 200-strong US military team will be stationed in the region to oversee and observe the truce. Egyptian, Qatari, Turkish and Emirati officers will join them in a joint control centre, a coalition meant to build confidence on both sides. For many Israelis, this week brought tears of relief. In Tel Aviv, crowds waved US and Israeli flags and held photos of hostages still in captivity. And for many Palestinians, it brought respite. In Gaza, where, as per Hamas-run health ministry figures, the death toll due to the war has surpassed 67,000, residents spoke of tears of joy as they hoped the deal might finally end the Israeli bombing. Trump's Sunday visit to Jerusalem is being billed as a celebration of hope. But behind the diplomatic smiles linger deeper questions about reconstruction, about disarmament, and about whether this truce can hold. For more on this, we are joined by Alon Pinkas, a former diplomat, joining us live from Tel Aviv. Alon, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure, Joshua.
Let's first look at these questions that are there. Of course, disarmament of Hamas is massive, but I want to focus firstly within Israel. Where does this deal leave Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, the deal until now is limited just to that first phase. I mean, everyone uses the cliches and the hyperboles about peace and a breakthrough and thousands of years, Trump called it. Unfortunately, that's hollow platitudes. The deal right now, and that was politically what Mr. Netanyahu submitted to his cabinet, is just about what is called the first phase, the release of hostages, Israeli hostages, dead and alive, in exchange for Palestinian prisoners and an Israeli redeployment, not yet a full withdrawal, but a redeployment along agreed upon lines in the Gaza Strip. And that effectively and essentially has begun already today. So politically, Netanyahu is under no threat for getting just this first phase through. If he does try, as Trump had pressured him, to proceed, to move forward with the other issues, and you mentioned some of them, Joshua, then he may have political problems. But to be honest, I don't think he wants to move forward. I think that this deal is going to be confined to that important in and of itself, critical to many people, emotional for everyone, but just to that hostage release.
Yes, and of course, Alan, there is a 72-hour deadline now that this peace deal, at least the first phase of it, has been ratified by Israel. That deadline for hostages to be released. What will that mean for the people of Israel who have suffered, those families of hostages who have been taken, both dead and alive, remaining in Gaza?
Well, for them, it's everything. It's the one thing they've been thinking about. It's the only thing they've been thinking about. They have been tormented emotionally. They have been, they have not slept in 2 years. They have dreamt of this day. I can only imagine. And again, how can I even pretend to put myself in their place? But as far as they're concerned, there was always the lingering worst case scenario going through their minds, because this deal, to be honest, without relitigating in our discussion, this deal could have been done a year ago. And in March, it was supposed to have been done, March of 2025, 7 months ago, but the ceasefire broke because Israel violated it. So there is anger and frustration with Mr. Netanyahu on the one hand, but that's all been put aside for a few days because, an entire nation is going to watch intently and sob as hostages come back. And at least the 20 who are alive. For those who are not, it's a question of closure and finality. But then come, in terms of the deal, come the real challenges, and I doubt Mr. Netanyahu will follow through on those.
And Alon, let's build on that. Of course, looking forward, disarmament, such a huge part of this for Benjamin Netanyahu and for Israel. He said that it can happen the easy way or the hard way a short while ago. What do you think that entails? And do you think Israeli military objectives in Gaza have ceased and will stop now?
No, I don't. I think that unless Hamas disarms, then there are two ways of looking at what may happen next. One is that a series of miscalculations, a mistake, a shot that was fired, a mistake in the reply or in the firing back, and before you know it, everything escalates into a resumption of the war. That's on the ground. That's the miscalculation and inadvertent development that could happen on the ground. Then there is the bigger picture, and that is that Mr. Netanyahu, once the hostages have been released, would like to continue the war. And we may have this conversation, you and I, Joshua, in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and you will ask, or I will ask you, how and why did the war begin again? Well, it's going to begin again because the next phase is like this disarmament. They were supposed to disarm, Hamas was supposed to disarm parallel to the release of the hostages. They are not. Let's assume most of them do agree to disarm. How do they do this practically? Well, it's not like there's a post office building where you go and you return your weapon or ammunition or explosives. Then there is the issue of the Arab force that's supposed to go in, and part of it, its job is to collect those weapons, but that Arab force will not go in unless Israeli withdrawal is full and complete, and that's not going to happen in the next few days. So we're looking at a very difficult period of time. Mr. Trump, President Trump, won all the accolades and praise and is basking in the glory of one face. To get this really, to justify this being a peace process or an end of the war, there need to be the other stages implemented. And I honestly don't see them being implemented. And what's worse, Joshua, I do not necessarily see the president remain President Trump in the picture. As I can see, I do not see him remain engaged and committed as he was until now.
Alon Pinkas, of course, so many questions still to be answered, but optimism there. Thank you for your insights and for your time.
Thank you, Joshua. My pleasure.
Want the facts?
The latest developments?
News that gets straight to the point.
Well, we've got all three just for you. This is Firstpost Live, a brand new show, your window into what really matters.
Don't miss it.